I accidentally quit Final Cut Pro when I tried Davinci Resolve. And it wasn't because I didn't like Final Cut Pro. In fact, I loved it. It was the best intuitive editor I have ever used. But then I saw all these videos about people leaving Final Cut Pro and Premiere Pro for DaVinci, and it got me thinking, especially when other channels brought up some of the same concerns that I actually have, but I just kind of brushed it off. And then the question arose, should I invest my time learning a software that feels like a hobby product that also seems to be a little bit behind compared to its competitors, despite it being a pretty decent software? And wouldn't it be a good idea to at least try DaVinci, since it feels like they actually prioritize their software, not to mention the growing popularity? And I get it. Some are going to say DaVinci is hard and others are going to say it was easy. So I decided to try the free version for myself. And I will say, in my humble opinion, I did not expect DaVinci Resolve to actually be easier than Final Cut Pro, but it is. And I get there's going to be people that disagree with me, but I've literally made my best video yet using it, and I'm still new to it. And I've only used DaVinci Resolve for a week or so. So I'm going to break down how simple it is to actually navigate in DaVinci so you can understand the basics and try it for yourself. Okay, so let's take a look at Final Cut Pro and DaVinci Resolve. And this is where I think things are pretty simple in terms of navigation, because what you're going to notice is Final Cut Pro and DaVinci Resolve have a really similar layout. And I think that's really what helps make the switch kind of easy. So you look at Final Cut Pro, you're in there, the layout is pretty simple. You have your media bin over here, you have music, photos, sound effects, and then right here you have your effects. So let's take a look at DaVinci. What you're going to notice is up here at the top, if you click this thing, now you have your media pool, then you have your effects. You could also close out the media pool right here and just have your effects. And then what you'll also notice is on the right hand side, you have your video settings, your audio settings, and all that stuff. And you could easily close it out by clicking this. So looking back at Final Cut Pro, very similar layout. And this is where I think things get a lot easier in DaVinci Resolve, because you'll notice that, you know, you have your video settings, your audio settings, color correction right here. Now the color correction on Final Cut Pro, it's, you know, pretty simple to get to. But what I love about DaVinci Resolve is if I want to close effects out and I want to get into color correcting or color grading, instead of me having to click over here, I just go to this little thing right here. And this, I'll call it a toolbar at the bottom. I believe these are called pages. And the ones I use, you have the cut page right here, which is a little easier when it comes to editing, I guess. I still use just a normal edit page, but you have the cut page for cutting and trimming. You have editing. Again, I use this page. I just find it easier. Right here, you have your Fusion tab, which I'm going to get into in a minute. You can do some really cool panning and animations. And then you have the color correction. You have music and sound effects, where you could just come in and add music and sound effects. Let's say I want to add this sound effect right here. I go in there and I'll be able to see it right over here. So I believe DaVinci Resolve is easier in that aspect and more intuitive, because I can literally be editing and be like, I don't like the way this color looks, or I want to add a certain LUT. And I could just go over here and I could do it. You have gouge and blur and all these other effects that you can use. So really easy to use. I didn't find it difficult at all to navigate from Final Cut Pro to DaVinci. And that's literally why when I started using DaVinci, I never went back to Final Cut. So it's really that easy. So I'm going to go over a couple things in DaVinci Resolve that I think are helpful if you're a beginner. If you're somebody like me that uses motion effects, if you don't know what that is, they're basically plugins that you can do and use from, you know, zooms to just really cool effects. You just install it like you do in Final Cut, and then what you'll do for the most part is, a big difference is you're going to add like an adjustment clip for the most part. And you'll put an adjustment clip right there, and you could, the other part I like is you could zoom in. So let's say I want to put an adjustment clip right here. You can drag it. You could zoom in and out right here. So I have that adjustment clip. Let's say I want to add in an effect. Let's say I want to do like a constant zoom from this one. I'll just add it here. I'll scroll over, I'll go to the inspector, and then I could just choose the zoom amount. So you basically just use an adjustment layer instead of just putting it on. I find this really simple to use. The other thing that is really simple is, let's say you want to do a zoom in, zoom to the left, zoom to the right, pan, something like that. And the reason why I bring this up is because I've seen a lot of the YouTube intros that do that, and I think it's really cool, and I wanted to learn how to do it. So I did. And the Fusion panel inside Davinci Resolve allows you to do that. So what you do is you come in, you click this thing right here, you hit Shift and Spacebar, and you look for this thing called Transform XF. You go Add. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to click on this one. I'm going to close this spine, and I'm going to delete this, so I'm doing it from scratch and you can see. So again, I'm going to hit Shift, Spacebar. And I'm going a little bit fast. I know this isn't really meant to be a tutorial. I just want to show you how simple it is so you can end up trying it. I'm going to do some other videos on this. If you want me to do something specific or you see something, please let me know in the comments and I'll make a video. So I got this transform thing here, and what I want to do is I want to start zoomed in and then pan up to the left, pan up to the right on each one of these steps. So I'm going to start here. And what I'm doing is I'm using this thing right here that says size to zoom in, and I'm moving with the pivot in the Y, and I'm going to hit this keyframe, and I'm going to hit this keyframe. Then I'm going to take my arrow on the keyboard, and I'm going to move over 10 or so frames. I'm going to zoom out a little bit, and I'm going to hit these keyframes again. I'm going to move 10 or so frames. And this time, I'm going to move with this X pivot a little bit until I can see this, and I'm going to move it over here. I'm not going to zoom in at all because I'm happy where I am. I'm just going to hit this keyframe as well. Then I'm going to move 10 or so frames again, and I'm going to take this, and I'm going to move it over here. I'm not going to zoom in or anything because this is exactly what I wanted to do. I'm going to hit this size thing. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to move 10 or so frames again. There we go. And I'm going to take this and I'm going to move it down here. I'm going to move 10 or so frames again. Whoops. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom back out to one, and I don't need to do anything else because this is where we were, and that's it. And what you should have is when you play, zoom out and then go left and then go right and then go down. And you'll notice that it's a little sluggish, and so I might have to do something. And again, I'm still kind of new to this. This isn't really meant to be a tutorial, but I'm going to show you what I learned so far. Sometimes it can be the computer, but we're going to try a couple things. Yeah, I think it's a little sluggish. So what I'm going to do in that aspect is I'm going to click spline, and I'm going to click these. I'm going to zoom out. I'm going to do a rectangle around those, and I think all I have to do is S. I think that's good. Let me close spline and see what that did. Let's try this again. That was better. Try that one more time. Now what I did there was I basically used the spline tool to smooth out and add curves to the way it transitions. I'll link a video at the bottom. I used a video from Donna Did It. He has a really good walkthrough explainer that shows you how to do all this. So I basically followed that. There's some edits that I'll probably do to it to make it look a lot smoother. But again, very easy to use. So overall, I found Davinci Resolve to be really easy to use. And I quit using Final Cut Pro because it was that easy. It works for me. Whether it works for you, I don't know, but feel free to try it. And if you want to see me do anything else, drop a comment, let me know what you want to see, and I'll make a video on it. See you in the next video.